Good morning, Minnesota DFLers, and welcome to the DFL Daily. Richard Carlbaum here, chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. Great to be with you each and every morning at 10:45. Today is a special day. It's April 15th, 2026, and today is the DFL's 82nd birthday. We're going to get into that in a second. First and foremost, want to just mention a few things coming up here that I'm keeping my eyes on. So first, we have volunteers have organized a rural rally for democracy in Chatfield at 5 p.m. This is a weekly thing. Thank you, Julie Fryer, and all the other volunteers who help organize that. The DFL Senior Caucus is doing their day at the Capitol, Day on the Hill today. I spoke this morning with Senator Nick Frentz, and I saw Tina Liebling. I saw so many people stopping in. I think they have 30 different speakers. They have a virtual option as well. So I just want to say thank you to their chair, Kay Hendrickson, who's doing a fantastic job leading the Senior Caucus. 11 different chapters throughout the state. I've gotten to visit many or most of them. Really appreciate all the work that they do. Tomorrow, Beltrami County DFL is hosting pizza and programming at 11:30 in the morning. Also in Melrose at 5:30, they have a pizza planning and conversation event. Finally, tomorrow in Houston County is screening The Librarians in La Crescent, all great events. This weekend, I'll be attending the Senate District 2 and Senate District 4 events. Their conventions, they're endorsing conventions. Excited to get up there to Red Bee, and I think Hawley is the other one. And then in the city of Minneapolis, they're having their DFL convention this weekend as well, where they elect their local leadership for the Minneapolis DFL. Next weekend, of course, we start congressional district conventions. Excited that I think we have a couple of them next weekend and then the weekends after. So thank you to everybody who's organizing all of these conventions. It's been really inspiring to get into these rooms and see so many new people participating in our party for the first time as delegates. We're going to have a massive new wave of Democrats being involved at the state and congressional district conventions. So if you're organizing these conventions, make sure that you explain things clearly and really welcome those people in. We need to roll out the red carpet for them and celebrate the fact that they're showing up and helping us make sure that we build this largest electoral defeat of a sitting president in the history of Minnesota midterms. For more information on all of these events, you can go to dfl.org/events and check out Mobilize. All right, let's get into it. I want you to go to your chat. So let's open the chat. I'm going to open my chat so I can see what you say to me. I appreciate the robust nature of our chat that we have each and every week. And today I'm going to ask you all to put something in the chat so I can see your response. Okay, I want to think about your life right now. I want you to think about your own life right now. Think about your job, your family, what your week's been like. And here's the question. What is one thing that you have today that workers and unions had to fight for? So think about that. Put it in the chat. What is one thing today that you have that workers and unions had to fight for? I'm going to say the weekend, although in this job, there's not much of a weekend. It's a 7-day-a-week job, which I love. Don't get me wrong. But I have to tell you, knowing that at times we have our weekends, Justin and I, it is like I'm so thankful for it. Oh, I like this. The pension, yes, 5-day work week, job safety, a 40-hour work week, health insurance. These are all fantastic ones. Women being treated equally. That's a big one. Unions have always fought to protect women in the workplace. It's so important that we've fought to better pay for women. Yep. 40-hour workplace safety. Thank you, Kathy Olson. Right to data on hazardous materials. Absolutely. Again, pension, pay equity, PTO, better pay for teachers. These are all fantastic. Financial security and retirement, 40-hour work week, all the benefits. Oh, para. Yeah, public employee retirement. That is so important. Great. These are all absolutely fantastic answers. Thank you for that. Every single one of these things, every single one was fought for by workers. None of it was given. That's what we're talking about today. And we're talking about that on the DFL's 82nd birthday. This week's message is about contrast. Minnesota values versus Republican priorities. How we show up for the working class is a clear contrast between the values that working people hold in Minnesota and where Republican elected officials have put their priorities. There's a Minnesota value. Hard work should mean something. If you put in a full day, you should be able to afford your rent, food, and to retire with dignity. It's a Minnesota values. Workers deserve a voice. Republican priorities are different. They're anti-worker. They're pro-big business, pro-billionaire interests, all about making sure that we line the pockets of a few and stick it to the rest of us. Voting against paid family medical leave is an example of that. Working to weaken unions and make it harder to organize. And obviously, all of these relentless federal attempts to strip agencies and protections that workers depend on. Thankfully, the federal courts have pushed back on some of that and have allowed some of these unions to be reinstated. But the onslaught against federal employee unions has been relentless with this Trump administration, and Republican members of Congress from Minnesota and across the country have celebrated that. That is one of the reasons why we have to deliver a massive electoral defeat. The only way to put a check on this president is to make sure that Congress is willing to do so. Right now, we have a Republican Congress that just paves the way for him to continue treating workers like he's doing. It's not a difference of opinion here, folks. It's a fundamental disagreement on who the economy is supposed to serve. The people doing the work should reap the benefits, not Trump and his billionaire buddies on Wall Street, who he is constantly manipulating the market to benefit, and then undermining all of the worker protections we have. The DFL stands shoulder to shoulder, and we've always stood shoulder to shoulder with our union brothers and sisters. That's why the Democratic Party and the Farmer Labor Party united 82 years ago, so that we could continue to fight and advocate together in this massive coalition by definition. You've seen the guests that we've had on the Daily to talk about this. We've had farmers and we have had labor leaders. The DFL was built to be a workers' party, a farmers' party, a party that came together because the system was rigged against them. And together, we've achieved meaningful change. Minnesotans have been organizing themselves since the 1850s. Wages, dignity, safety, voice at the table. Miners on the Iron Range, meat packers and garment workers in the Twin Cities and in southern Minnesota, farmers across the plains getting crushed by railroads and banks came together and pushed back. Former Senator Al Franken used to tell a famous story about how when his family moved to Minnesota, they moved to the wrong town. They moved to Albert Lea, and the railroad wouldn't stop there. And so they had to move elsewhere to make a living. That's because the railroads ignored farmers and put them at a disadvantage. They didn't have, folks didn't have a ton of money or political connections, but we had each other. That solidarity built the middle class. It gave us the weekend. It gave us an 8-hour workday, 40-hour work week, and it gave us the Democratic Farmer Labor Party, the DFL. That's our origin story, and that's where we came from. And it's worth remembering because that history rhymes with what we're up against today, 82 years later. There's an old saying that we stand on the shoulders of giants. And the people who built our party, brought our party together as a coalition 82 years ago, those are the shoulders we stand on today. The Hubert Humphreys of the world who really did the work of making sure that a coalition could come together and push back against the unfair practices that that people were facing, that ordinary working people were facing each and every day. The people doing the work should reap the benefits. That was the simple idea behind our coalition, and we've stood solid together since then. Standing with labor isn't a political stance. It is actually who we are. It's in our DNA. That's why I love to say we're a coalition by definition. That's how we came together 82 years ago. Our policies, our priorities, our partners are moving workers forward and strengthening the middle class. We've never done it alone. It's part of being Minnesotan. We stick together. And every time Republicans vote to gut our protections or side with corporations or dismantle agencies, keeping working folks safe, they are making a choice. We are living our values. So here's today's message. The DFL has been built from the ground up by farmers and labor unions, by common working people who wanted to come together and be in coalition together in order to protect one another. That's exactly what happened during Operation Metro Surge. It didn't happen through the DFL. It happened organically in our communities through signal chats and through neighborhood groups that understood the threat we're facing by much larger power. And because we came together, one community at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one city at a time, and then ultimately as an entire state, we demonstrated to the rest of the world what a coalition can look like and how we can protect one another in that coalition. That is what the DFL is. So this week, keep your communications rooted in workers and farmers. Keep your communications rooted in who we are. Today, our call to action is to share the first name and profession of a farmer or union member in your life. Justin, my spouse, is a teacher, a member of Education Minnesota, and that union has protected him time and time again in his workplace. He has faced discrimination, he has faced unfair practices, and each and every time his union has stood up for him. And then my Uncle Jimmy is a farmer. He's been on the family farm since 1857, just before Minnesota became a state. That family farm is we're proud of. It's up near Harris in Chisago County, the northern part of Chisago County. And Jimmy and my cousin Jeremy now taking over the farm. They farm a lot of hay and a little bit of beef cattle, but they do that work each and every day. And I'm darn proud whenever I get to go home and see all the work that they do to maintain that land for so many years in our family. Drop their name and what they do in the chat for me. Let's share our thanks and honor them together. That's who we're fighting for. That's who's built the state. The farmers and the laborers and the common working folk who wanted to come together to build a coalition that can really unite and do all we can to protect one another. We have 202 days to strengthen this coalition and to build the largest electoral defeat of a sitting president in the history of Minnesota midterms. We have 202 days until November 3rd, folks, and we're going to win this thing. We're going to win this in bank. Let's go win this. Thanks, everybody.